Research has shown that sustainable economic growth is not possible without women's engagement and women empowerment. So at USAID, we try to make sure that our programming is inclusive. How do we go about doing that? Let me try and explain by giving you a few examples of our successful partnership with Kosovo women in business and the private sector. These are inspiring women who are amazing entrepreneurs, women who pay it forward and pave the way for other women to enter the workforce, as well as women who advocate to make sure that the business enabling environment in Kosovo is a level playing field. So the first type of support I'll mention is our support for startups and business expansion, usually through grants. These are the nascent enterprises who start small and need some kind of support, and as we have seen, can flourish into really successful business enterprises. A couple of these examples are Sarihe Malesiu in Kachanik. She started small and now is working with hundreds of other women growers in the medicinal and aromatic plants industry. A second example is Naslia Berisha Ademi in Ferizai. She has a pastry shop, Umbulsia, and as she says, she's always wanted to create something of her own and help employ other women. A second type of support that USAID provides is training. We have trained and mentored hundreds of women, particularly in those sectors which are traditionally male-dominated, like energy, wood processing, and ICT. Blair Tatachi of Open Data Kosovo is one of USAID's early trainees, and now she's paying it forward by teaching other women the same skills and providing them the experience so that they can be the future shakers and movers in the ICT sector. We've also partnered with IQ2Link, which is one of the biggest employers in Kosovo, and to date, they have about 400 women in their employ. Certainly not a small feat. A third type of support that USAID provides is assisting women so that they can meet international standards and therefore get the certificates that they need so that they can export overseas. Not too long ago, raspberries and blueberries from Kosovo were unheard of, but that is such a dynamic sector right now. And that has to do with a lot of women farmers, women entrepreneurs, and women marketers who are able to meet international standards, get the certificates, and maintain the quality that export markets demand. Market linkages are also important, and so we try to help women entrepreneurs have access to those markets that are important for their business survival. So not too far from the US Embassy in Dragodan is the shop of Leah Stubla, who in fact has been designing dresses even for those famous award ceremonies in Hollywood. She now employs 20 women and exports to more than 15 countries. A fourth type of support that we have been providing is helping women form associations. As they say, there is strength in numbers. But let me underscore that while numbers and huge numbers of women, pushing for the same cause is good, it's equally important and sometimes more effective when you have women in leadership and management positions. Two bright examples of these are the executive directors of the Kosovo Wood Processing Association and the Kosovo Apparel Marketing Association. Not too long ago, there was a group of women as well in the energy sector, which is predominantly male, who wanted to form an association. And that has now blossomed into the very dynamic and successful Association of Women in Energy in Kosovo. They have 140 members and they help influence policy in the energy sector. certainly one of the most critical sectors in Kosovo in terms of supporting economic development. Speaking of policy reform, that's the last area or type of support that USAID has been providing. And probably a best example I can give you is our partnership with many women lawyers, from lawyers to advocates and others who work on legislation on property rights in Kosovo. It's very clear that success in business also requires women access to property, because a lot of times to secure financing, whether from formal commercial banks or other types of financing instruments, you are required to put up collateral, and so property rights are very, very critical to women in business. The last point I will make is that the job of equality is not the job of women alone. In Kosovo, 90% of businesses are owned by men. While there are more women now in government or public service, I would say that many of the decision-making roles in government are still predominantly men. So I urge you, try to seek allies beyond those who think like you. We have to sometimes rock the boat, or sometimes figuratively speak louder so that our voices are heard. So, as the world today raises its hand and commits to equality, I also choose to challenge. And I want you to challenge the status quo as well. And as you do that, please make sure that you think of your daughters, you think of your sisters and nieces and your granddaughters. But more importantly, make sure you also instill the value of equality in your sons, in your fathers and brothers, and in your male friends. So I'm hoping today, as we celebrate International Women's Day, we all choose to challenge, we all choose to commit to equality, because with equality comes a better world, right? Thank you very much.